The youth of this century, 21st century, is taking over, and we have no stopping time, as Black Sherif says in his music. We got no stopping time. And we for sure, we are angry because the politicians are tricking us day in and day out. The politicians are using the music industry, using the youth for their selfish gains. And it's bad for the music industry. It's high time the so-called industrial players will sit up and advise the rising arts in this century, in this our time, to deter from these politicians. Distance themselves, distance the arts from any political campaign, since we are gradually entering into another political cycle. As seen, very soon there's going to be an election in Ghana, and they are going to call on these young arts who are doing great, who has a whole lot of followers, who are followed by both Ghanaians in Africa and diaspora. Let me tell you this. Before we can get to greatness, we have to do away politicians from our life. Before any youth can rise and boast of achieving something, he or she must try and deter from politicians, distance themselves from politicians. Because politicians don't have any good intentions for us. They are in for their political gains, so they invest so much into whatever campaign they organize and whatever activity they are doing to gain power. They go to the extent by even buying votes, by sending food to villages, buying roofing sheets, cement and other building materials and cooking materials to our people in the villages who are more like deprived of a whole lot of things, namely good roads, electricity, and good water. Even as of now, the politicians are more like playing with those villagers by destroying their water with this Galamsey thing. They will campaign about this Galamsey thing, and after they are voted into power, they will go and join them with the so-called Chinese people to mine the gold and destroy our water bodies. People are dying because of politicians. The Rasta men call them politricksters because they are tricksters, and that's a fact. We try to more like put a blind eye on these things, and it's really destroying our country. It's high time the youth of today, the youth in the industry, will deter from these fake and selfish politicians who think of nobody but themselves and their family. They come in and steal our money for their relatives, their future children and grandchildren to enjoy, whilst the major population, the larger part of the population, suffers a whole lot of consequences, namely hunger, even lack of shelter. People sleep under tents in the cities and even in the villages. No good water in our cities. Electricity has now become a problem. We don't have a stable electricity. They're going for loans day in and day out, and we don't see any good use of that money. They claim we have electricity problem in this country, but I ask myself day in and day out, what do these politricksters do with the money they're going in for all the time? We have enough water bodies to create enough dams to supply electricity to even our sister countries. But immediately the money falls in, they find ways and means to steal the money. And we end up paying more taxes for them to use the taxes to build the country. which they are doing bad at it. Day in and day out, the normal citizen must be taxed to a certain level. Somebody might be earning 2,000, and at the end of the day, if you check the taxes he or she is paying, you realize it's more like a quarter of the salary, and it all goes to the government for development, and we don't see those developments. Are they not stealing from us, if I may ask? And that comes to the topic of the day. The youth in the industry should try as much as possible not to encourage them. The music industry is not for the polytricksters. It's to portray our culture to the world and to show the world that we get talent in Ghana. We are the future, and if we allow the politicians into our lives, they are going to destroy it in a second. In the blink of an eye, our future and the future of our children will collapse and vanish. I say no space for politicians in the music industry, and I hope and believe other stakeholders will support this agenda. The politicians are really making us suffer. We need to get rid of them any which way we can. Any which way we can in the music industry. I'm not calling upon anything, but the only thing I'm calling upon is let's distance politics from music, so that data comparison that we normally do on our radio stations and TV stations and our social media platform will also end, because we are being influenced by these politicians, and we are taking their game into our game. Our game and aim is to make money to help the less privileged. So if you are a blogger, if you are a musician, and if you are an actor or actresses, whatever you are in the industry, music industry, and you are making fortune, kindly channel your energy to the poor and the needy. Stop lavishing money around, going in for fancy dresses that worth $5,000, $100,000, and fancy cars and fancy buildings. They are not going to help you. You will die and leave them behind one day. And what legacy would you leave behind? Ask yourself, what or which legacy am I leaving behind? And if I'm no more, what is the next generation going to remember me with? Try and leave a legacy that people will look upon you and say, you did great. If not comparing you to Nkrumah, they might say you did great in your time, and your time was 21st century. 21st century children are smart, and there's no doubt. Thank you, and this is Love Africa, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, both on YouTube. Turn on notification on YouTube to get latest updates and other entertainment trending stories. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Just enter Love Africa and you see us there. The Love Africa is unique, and we have a unique name as compared to all other names